Good afternoon and welcome to Create with Lorie. I'm Lorie and I'm the teen librarian at Manlius Library, and today we're going to make bumblebee watering stations. Something to put in your garden so bumblebees, as they're pollinating the flowers, can get a drink of water but don't drown. So a few things that you'll need for that are some kind of shallow dish. It can be anything. This is just plain white Corelware. You can use a Pyrex dish. You can use the top of a flower pot as long as there's not a hole in the bottom, but you want a fairly shallow dish. Something to use as a base. I'm going to be using this little flower pot turned upside down, and I'll have a couple of other examples for you too once we get started. So that's going to be the base. Some strong non-waterproof glue or adhesive, epoxy, something to keep the two together. I'm going to be using this quick dry tacky glue, testing to see how quick it actually does dry. You could use anything that's not waterproof, or that is waterproof and that will hold really well outside. Okay, so a good hot glue would work, or any kind of strong adhesive. This is what I'm going to use. And then marbles. I'll show you some examples or some substitutions if you don't have marbles once we get started too. Okay, so let's get started and make a bumblebee watering station. All right, so I've got everything assembled here. Let me show you how to make a bumblebee watering station. I mentioned that I've got my little Corelware dish and my flower pot, which I'm going to put together. Basically what you do is just glue them together, let it dry completely to put out in the garden. You want something that's going to be a fairly sturdy and non-breakable base. I mean, it's breakable, but it's not fragile. And something shallow to hold water and marbles for the top. You don't want to use this for the top because it's got a hole in it. So if you're using a flower pot, you want to seal the hole for the drainage hole before you put it out in the garden, okay? You could also use a clear Pyrex bowl for the top. I've got some just plain disposable, really, but plastic plates that you could use for a base. You could put that together like that. You can do any combination that you want. The good thing about using something plain or clear or white, non-decorated, is you can decorate it any way you want to. You can paint it. If you do that, keep the paint on the outside, not on the inside. Keep the paint on the outside and make sure you waterproof and seal it really well, because this is going to be sitting out in the garden or in the yard or on the step or on the deck for the bumblebees. And you don't want something that the weather is going to easily take the decorations off. So, but these are both absolutely paintable. So all you're going to do is take your glue, and I'm using, as I said, this quick dry tacky glue and just an old paintbrush. And I'm going to put a good layer of that here. It doesn't matter that there's a hole in the bottom of this, because it's not, this part isn't going to hold any water. And this is so bumblebees, when they come to your garden or your yard or wherever, have some place to rest and get a drink. And we're going to add the final step to make sure they don't drown. So there we go. I've got that glued. You want to make sure it's fairly centered so that it'll stand upright. Traditional water bird baths are great for birds and squirrels and other animals like that that want to get a drink, but they tend to be too deep for bumblebees. They get in there, they get their drink of water, and then they can't get back out. This is going to enable them to get back out. So we've got that glued together. We're going to let that dry. Okay, so that seems to have dried up nicely. It's still a little tacky. I'm going to let it dry overnight before I put it outside, but I think we can move on. So our next and really final step, assuming you've decorated it the way you want and it's glued together and nice and dry, is to add marbles. put marbles in, and these give the bees a landing space. Okay, so we've got some marbles. You want to make sure they're clean marbles before you put them out. For the bees, you don't want the bees drinking contaminated or dirty water. These are very loud, sorry. Oh, you could also use little beach glass chips like you find in the bottoms of vases and the bottoms of fish tanks. You can get those at the dollar store. I happen to have a collection of marbles. Okay, so we've got some marbles in there, and then you just add water. And the important thing to remember is the bees need the surface to land on. So you don't want the water to be completely over the top of the marbles. All right, you want there to be spaces for the bees to get to the water and also to get out so that they can dry off and fly away. Now, if you don't have marbles or beach glass or that, you can use stones. We've used these for a couple of different projects already this summer, and there's at least one more coming up. You can stack stones. You could just put a few in. Again, you want to make sure at least part of the rock is out of the water so that when the bee gets its drink, you can get up to the rock and out of the bowl. You can also make these any size you want. I wouldn't go a whole lot smaller than this because you'd be cleaning it every single day. But you could also do a nice big dish on top of a flower pot, or you could take 2 parts of a flower pot and flip them upside down. Just make sure that drain hole is sealed. Okay, and there you have it, a nice watering station for the bumblebees that are pollinating your garden. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed making these absolutely adorable bumblebee watering stations, and the bees in your yard and in your garden will be hydrated, safe, and happy. If you're registered for the Manlius Library Teen Summer Reading Program, your secret code today is Bumblebee. Capital B, U-M-B-L-E-B-E-E, Bumblebee. Head on over to your account and click on the Events tab. Click the Create with Lorie for this week and enter the secret code, and you'll get 20 extra points for your raffle tickets at the end of the summer. And if you're not signed up for the Teen Summer Reading Program, head on over to our website at manliuslibrary.org and sign up today. It's open to kids and teens ages 12 and up in the central New York area. I'm Lorie. I'm the teen librarian at Manlius Library. I completely lost my train of thought, but that's okay. You can find me here on the Manlius Library YouTube channel every Thursday at 4 p.m. And every week from now on, there will be a secret code for the Teen Summer Reading Program. I hope that we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the summer. Happy reading.